The players, Coach Pop, all but admitted it is going to be a very long season. What are the fans thinking about that?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs on this fan episode of Locked On Spurs. I am your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for San Antonio. Glad you are back. Training is underway. Day 2 happened yesterday. We're going to be touching about that and what are the players saying, the coaching staff saying, and much, much more, including the forgotten rookie already, Malakai Branham. We're going to be discussing all that on this fan episode of Locked On Spurs, and we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day, free and available wherever you get podcasts. So yeah, from media day to even training camp day 1, it looks like everybody on the roster, from the coaching staff to the players to the rookies, get it. It's going to be a very long season. But this is the closest you're going to get to them admitting wins are not going to be racking up. We're going to get the fans' thoughts on that and who is repping the fan base. He is back, everybody, coming off the bench a la Manu Ginobili. He is Zach Escamilla. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at fourth. I gotta spell it out here for a bit. So at 4THN69 Sports. Yes, it is Zach. He would go with that Twitter handle. Zach, welcome back to Locked On Spurs.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jeff. It's always a pleasure.
So I heard a rumor that you're going to be coming back to play Wolverine again.
Yeah, let me just, start shooting up steroids and starve myself, and I'll get right on that.
Yeah, man, everybody's hyped about that. Yeah, Hugh Jackman is back as Wolverine, but maybe we'll talk about that when we nerd out later on the show. But we got to dive right into it, Zach, and talk about the Silver and Black seasons is right around the corner. Well, the regular season, that is. Yes, the training camp is still going on, preseason, but Spurs fans are still kind of in the, the infancy of this full-on rebuild. But from media day to the players to day 1 training camp, it looks like everybody's on the same page, Zach, and that is it might be a very long season with more L's than W's. The team, Zach, seems to finally have conceptualized that, embrace that, or on the same page. What are fans thinking about the fact that now the team is on board with this whole, L's going to be piling up?
I mean, here's how I look at it. I think some fans are going to be really excited that the youth movement is in full swing, and the fact that there really aren't any expectations. The vibe that I'm getting from this team is they know they're a young team, and I'm sure Pop has spoken with them and said, look, guys, you have an opportunity here to play right away. You have an opportunity to shock the world. No one is expecting you to be good. So just go out there, have a good time, and let's see where the dominoes fall, if you will.
Yeah, we look at media day. Popovich joked, how Vegas, nobody should be going to Vegas to bet on them to win the title. Duh, obviously. There were a couple players that said that this team in the locker room are shooting for the playoffs to shock the world. Josh Primo mentioned it, but let's be real. We got to do real talk. That's probably not going to happen. I mean, Zach, I don't even think a play-in berth is going to happen with how loaded the West is. You get the Clippers back, full power, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. Denver is going to be Denver. Dallas is only going to get better. The list goes on and on. But in a lean season that is shaping up to be, are fans worried about these players getting dejected, getting upset? Their competitive spirit may be taking over where they want W's. And, are fans just worried about the psyche of this team? Or is the fan base just assured that at least at this moment, they know it is what it is?
Well, if you put yourself in the position of these players, they're all competitors. A lot of these guys, in college, they played at big time programs. I mean, look at Keldon Johnson. Where did he play? Kentucky? I'm having a brain fart. Yeah, I mean, that was a program that was always competing for, a national championship at the collegiate level. So you have a lot of these guys that are used to winning. So it's perfectly reasonable for a fan to be concerned, saying, is the losing going to take a toll on these guys? I mean, listen, they're getting paid millions of dollars, so it's probably a lot easier pill to swallow compared to us regular Joes as fans. But I definitely understand the concern that fans have over the losing. But I think I'll piggyback on something that Danny said on the last podcast that him and I did together regarding the camaraderie. You're going to have a lot of these younger guys that are going to be leaning on each other this season through the good times and the bad times. So I think it's really just going to come down to what type of attitude these players are going to choose to keep throughout the season. Because attitude is everything, Jeff. You can be in a job that you hate, but if you have a great attitude and you try to make it tolerable, I think that's a big key to success in anything in life. Is you don't have to love what you're doing, but if you can tolerate it and just come in with a good attitude, that goes a long way. So I think between Pop being a veteran coach, and they have to look at a silver lining. Hey, we're getting coached by an all-time great in Greg Popovich. We're getting paid a handsome salary. Let's just take this year as an opportunity to learn. And hopefully this time next year, help is on the way, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, is it safe to say, Zach, that the fan base, is I mean, look, we both know that the fan base can be fractured and divided. I mean, it happens almost on a daily basis. If you just take a look on social media. But do you think collectively everybody's kind of on board that this is going to be a tank season?
I don't know if everyone's on board. I think some people have accepted the tank, that's the direction it's going. But I still see a lot of folks out there that are pounding the table for guys like a Miles Turner that's on the trade block. Ben Simmons is still out there, and there's a lot of uncertainty with him. Myself, I've even taken a look at the DeJounte Murray trade that went down, and at the time, I'm like, they got 3 first-round draft picks for the guy. I mean, that's great. But remember, there were all those rumors that John Collins was available in that trade, allegedly, reportedly. That was, a John Collins and a player for DeJounte Murray kind of thing. I really wonder if the Spurs ever considered that. We'll never know. But between you and I, Jeff, if I was Brian Wright, I would have been gunning for Okongwu, John Collins, and a pick or 2. I would have gladly sacrificed 2 out of those 3 picks if I got those 2 young up-and-coming players and a pick for Murray, because those 2 positions are a position of need. So because the Spurs didn't really want to take back salary outside of Celtics legend, actually poor guy Gallinari, he got hurt. That was a rough injury. Yeah. But outside of taking on his salary to cut him immediately, I'm just really curious if there was more out there. Because if they could have received one of those players I just mentioned in Collins or Okongwu, I think that would have been really nice. But that's just me. So clearly, I think the Spurs, what I'm getting at here, Jeff, is they're I don't know if they're tanking because they want Wemby or Scoot, or if it's just a ploy to move to Austin and discourage fans from attending the games. I don't know. I don't know what the reasoning is. But I think this time next year will be very interesting, because we're going to see, what did the Spurs do with all of that quote unquote cap space, which we know they didn't do much this year. But what are they going to do with that? Call it a high draft pick. I think it's safe to say they're going to get one. So a lot of question marks.
Yeah. It's very safe to say this team will likely be sniffing top picks 1 through 3 next summer. Well, when we get back, we're going to discuss more about the fact that the team has accepted that this is going to be a down season, and also get into the forgotten rookie already, Malakai Branham, with Zach Escamilla on this fan episode of Locked On Spurs. But first, I want to talk to you about betonline.net, which is your number one source for your football betting info this season. You can find all the latest player development, team matchup news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game you can find. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sport wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores on each and every sport out there. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games, events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to betonline.net. If you really want to go out to betonline.net, Spurs fans, and see the Spurs title odds, have fun. Go enjoy that. See just how down even Vegas has the Spurs this upcoming season. But look, you got yourself a mobile device, a tablet, computer, laptop, what have you. Just go to betonline.net. It's where the game starts. We're back with Zach Escamilla right here on this fan episode of Locked On Spurs, and we're discussing your silver and black as they get set to start a new season in just a few short weeks. Media day came and went. Zach had training camp day one, and Blake Wesley, one thing that he said after camp day one was that this team is young. This team is young. I'm young. We're just barely learning. You got Trey Jones, who could possibly be thrusted into a starting position / new leader now with DeJounte gone. There's so many questions individually, Zach, for the players collectively, that how do you think Spurs fans are going to be dealing when the L's start mounting up? You think you're going to see more fights breaking out on social media? Do you think then and only then will everybody come together and realize it is what it is? Top 3 picks, here we come. I guess I'm trying to get at, Zach, is when the going gets tough, will Spurs fans get tough or start warring?
It's so warring is going to happen, Jeff. Spurs Twitter. I think even back in my days when I was your colleague doing the Spurs Zone stuff, I wrote an article.
I remember that.
Everyone should try to get along. That we're all on the same team. Literally, we are all rooting for the Spurs. We just all have different perspectives on how we would run the team. And I think that's awesome. It is so cool that everybody has a different opinion. Let me just put that out there right now. It would be a really boring place on Twitter if everyone was like, I agree with you. I agree, Zach. That's great. But at the same time, I wish people would be a little bit more respectful. But anyway, getting off that high horse there, I just want to say it's going to happen, Jeff. People are going to go at each other saying, the Spurs effed up royally by not bringing in a Ben Simmons or a John Collins. What are they doing with all this cap space? But you're eventually going to have people, as the season progresses, probably the last quarter of the season, they're going to say, you know what? Trade deadline's over and the team is what they are. Let's start looking up Wemby, Scoot, and Thompson twin videos. I think that's what's going to eventually transition and progress into, excuse me. So there's going to be a lot of adversity. I'll say that much.
Yeah. And I'm expecting that. I'm expecting Spurs fans to get on each other's nerves. It's not like they do anyway already. Also to simply just, I think there's going to, in my opinion, I just think there's going to come a point in the season where for the fan base will just realize, you know what? Yeah, we see the L's mounting, and I think they'll start getting competitive with like the fan bases of the Jazz and the Thunder for the race for that top pick. I could see that happen. Maybe that could be the common enemy or enemies, Thunder fans and Utah fans, as they chase for the top pick. So I think that will happen. I hope it does, because it can get nasty out there. But all in all, Zach, it looks like the team is on board. They know what it is. It's going to be a long season. Not all, but a good chunk of Spurs fans get it too, or starting to come around the corner. We're talking with Zach Escamilla right here on this fan episode of Locked On Spurs. We're going to discuss already a forgotten rookie. Zach is so hand, you cannot not ignore him because of his colorful hair, his accent. He's all wearing number 10 for Dennis Rodman, and he was the number 9 pick, the highest pick in quite some time for the Spurs. You got Blake Wesley, who was saying all the right things, showed out in Vegas, and possibly could challenge for the point guard spot once the ball goes up in the air. But there's another rookie that seems to be getting forgotten by the fan base, and that's Malakai Branham. What are Spurs fans saying about him, if anything, and are fans forgetting about him?
Fans are definitely forgetting about him, Jeff, and I don't think that's anything against Malakai. He definitely had his moments in the summer league. Had a couple of games where he really showed out. He's received plenty of Chris Middleton comparisons, which, hey, that's a positive in my opinion. Chris Middleton's a heck of a player. I think because he's so reserved compared to the flash of Blake Wesley and the show that he put on in summer league, and obviously Sohan, even though we had not seen him dribble a basketball at all.
Yeah.
Sohan is loud and flashy with the hair, and he's becoming that fan favorite. So I get all that. But I think when you've got so much flash with the other two rookies and you have a guy that's just reserved and low key, I think it makes it, and certainly no disrespect to Malakai, but it's hard to stand out when you have a character in Sohan and then a guy in Blake Wesley who's just got all of this swagger and all of this flash to his game. So if I'm Malakai, I'm going to just let my playing do the talking. And I think flying under the radar, it's not a bad thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's what gets me is not in a bad way. It just makes my eyebrow raise and scratch my head. Like, we saw Wesley, a good chunk of him in Vegas. We saw Malakai, a good chunk of him in Vegas. We haven't seen anything at all at Sohan. But you're right, the character is winning over right now. Like we mentioned, the colorful hair and the things that he says. And of course, he's very interactive with Spurs fans on social media. Wesley, same thing. He talked about interacting with fans since day one. He even, was in Del Rio recently, interacting with fans. And for those who not live in Texas, just a little city outside of San Antonio near the border, going east. But my point is with Malakai, he could be intriguing because with Lonnie gone and DeJounte gone, Malakai could be that low key under the radar missing piece for a future building block moving forward. Many thought that Lonnie could be Zach.
Yeah. I mean, I got to tell you with Lonnie, that's still such a shame, Jeff, because Lonnie, by all accounts, I've spoken with people that were from his hometown. Everyone had just nothing but positive things to say about Lonnie. So I just wanted to say, I know even though he's with the Lakers now, I wish him well, even though he's with the enemy, because I know he did a lot of great things here in the community. So shout out to Lonnie. Sorry it didn't work out. Best of luck to you, man. But going back, and I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart here, Jeff. I got locked in on Lonnie. Were we talking about Malakai or Blake Wesley?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that you or even the fan base believe he could be what Lonnie should have been?
And we're talking about Blake Wesley being what Lonnie could have been?
No. We're talking about Malakai.
Oh, okay. And I'm sorry I got it confused, Jeff, because I look at Lonnie.
Don't worry about it. No big deal.
He had all that flash, and when I see Blake Wesley, I look at him as being, well, maybe he's going to be what Lonnie should have been, but who knows? I guess it's really hard for me to compare Malakai and Lonnie because I feel like, not knowing them personally, but from what I see, I guess they're both reserved guys, if you will. But I know Malakai has been branded as more of a shooter, more of like a guy that's going to go step back and hit the three with more consistency. So, yeah, I can definitely see some of the comparisons. But ultimately, I would like to think, in my opinion, Blake Wesley is going to be what Lonnie, or at least what we had hoped Lonnie was going to be.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what Malakai can bring on the court. We're going to get probably a very good look when the Spurs play their preseason match against Houston this Sunday. And look, all the guys, just from Malakai to Jones to Wesley to Sohan, I'm hoping that they get a good chunk of minutes this NBA season. Zach, do you think the fan base will be okay once the Spurs release news that Sohan is going to be going to the Austin Spurs for a while, or Wesley is going to Austin Spurs? Do you think Spurs fans will be okay with that if it's done in moderation, or be flipping tables if they're just stashed there?
Well, let me pose this question. Are they going to do anything with the current veterans on the team now, guys that have been rumored to be on the trading block, such as Jakob Poeltl, Doug McDermott, Josh Richardson. I think that's where fans are going to be flipping tables, is when you're seeing those three vets get heavy minutes and you're seeing those cats that you just mentioned, those rookies, become marooned in Austin. Mm-hmm. Because if this season is truly about development and tanking, then those guys should be getting all the minutes. It's nice to have a veteran presence. I'm not saying no team should have no vets, but I would much rather see a guy like Zach Collins getting a bulk of the minutes at the 5, see what he can do as a starter. I'd also like to see Barlow. We saw a little bit of him in the summer league. I know he's a bit on the skinny side, but what is he, 6'10", 6'11"? Let's see him play some 5. So I would like to see just something different, and let's see what we have. Obviously, we're not expecting to see these cats win, but on an individual basis, let's see some of these players and if they are worth investing in for the future. So even if the team sucks and they only win 20 games, we're going to be able to look at individual statistics and say, all right, this guy is going to be a keeper. He's going to be part of the rebuild. Or is this somebody that we're just going to try to trade or not re-sign? Again, all of those things come into play. So for me, I think going back to the initial question, you are going to have fans that are upset that if those cats go to Austin, because it's like, what are we doing? They should be learning on the job. I mean, unless you've got a Ben Simmons or some other veteran that's truly a stud that's in front of them, there is no reason for them to be in Austin. So unless the Spurs make a trade, Jeff, for somebody that's a difference maker, then go to Austin. But again, we've talked about this so many times, Jeff, you and I on this podcast. It's not, we don't have the big three here anymore. Back then with Tony, Manu, and Tim, and then even when Kawhi came in, the Spurs could afford to send these guys to Austin because they were playing, they had Hall of Famers playing in front of them. So it made sense to send them there to get minutes. But now there's no Hall of Famers playing in front of them now. Jakob Poeltl is not a Hall of Famer. I don't care how many of Spurs Twitter's like, Zach, but he's like number 2 in blocks, number 2 defensive rating. He's a good rim detector. No, I don't care. I don't care. I don't give an effing rat's. You know what? I want Jakob Poeltl off the team, and I would much rather see Zach Collins or Dom Barlow, even if they suck, just because why the hell not? So, sorry it took a turn there, but
don't worry about it.
The point is, Jim, they should not be getting sent to Austin unless we've got some badass players in front of them. That's it.
For me, I'm okay if they go to Austin for a spell. If they're there for a couple of weeks, fine. It's fine, go. But if they're there back and forth, and we're already 3 months in, that's not a good thing. I'm not going to be surprised to see Barlow in Austin the bulk of his rookie season. Jordan Hall, Tommy Kuzi. Yeah. That's how crazy this roster is. It was to the point where the Spurs, for the first time in a long time, had to give out media guides with player names and photos. That's how bad it is. So
I like how it had how to pronounce the names, Jeff, like with Tommy Kuzi, because if you just looked at his name without having that little, phonetic pronunciation, you'd say, is it Kush? Tommy Kushi? Or so I like how they did that with the names to help people educate themselves and see, hey, this is how you say the player's last name. So
but should be interesting for Malakai as well. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing that. We saw glimpses of what he could be. He had a kind of a rough start to the summer league, came on towards the end. That could just be maybe he was in a shooting slump to start the Vegas Summer League, the butterflies in his stomach, what have you. But I think personally, I have him on my short list of dark horse players that could probably surprise people. Many people are looking at, Josh Primo is going to surprise everybody with what he can do now that he's going to be fully off the reins, or Trey Jones is going to take over. We'll see what he can do. But I have him as one of my top 3 guys that's going to be. Oh, we forgot about that guy last time at the draft when the Spurs were selected in the first round. He is Zach Escamilla, and he is repping the fan base on this episode of Locked On Spurs. When we get back, I'm going to bother Zach, and he and I are going to go over some news and notes that you may have missed. We're back with Zach Escamilla right here on Locked On Spurs. This fan episode of Locked On Spurs, we're talking all things silver and black. And if you want to follow Zach on Twitter, can't miss this one. It's at 4 THN 69 Sports. I wonder why he picked that number. And yeah, follow him on Twitter, everybody. He definitely has a lot to say. Zach,
I'm just a Bill and Ted fan.
Yeah, exactly. That's all it is. That's all it is. But let's go into some news and notes that you may have missed. And that is the Spurs have announced that there's going to be a new court logo this upcoming season. It's going to be reflecting 50 years in San Antonio. Maybe 50 more, right? Right, Zach? 50 more years? He got a little quiet there, huh?
That would be nice, but I'm not holding my breath. I probably won't be alive in 50 years, so we'll see.
Well, we'll talk about a segue, Zach. The Spurs games in Austin, those pair of games, the tickets are on sale now. If you want to make the trek up I-35, just got the Spurs at the Moody Center. The tickets are now available. Just go to the Austin Spurs website. Can't miss it. It's all right in your face when you go to their website. Much, much more there. So, Zach, will you be making that trek to the Moody Center to see those pair of Spurs games?
I mean, if I have nothing better to do that day and I get a wild hair in me, sure, maybe, but probably not.
Zach, thought you're a true fan supporter there, but maybe not supporting them.
But I paid for 10 games. I bought a little wee season ticket package, so at least I can say that I'm going to support the team, even though there is very little. There's very low expectations. There's very little to be that jazzed about. That's why I'm really hoping, Jeff, as a season ticket holder, that I get my money's worth and I get to see these young guys play. I want to see Sohan and Blake Wesley. I don't want to see Doug McDermott and Jakob Poeltl, damn it.
In other Spurs news, the Spurs bid a good farewell to former Spurs assistant coach Chip England. He is now with the Oklahoma City Thunder, already making an impact with the OKC, Zach, especially Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey recently talked about what England brings to the team. Find time to leave or the Spurs not to retain his services, huh, Zach, when they're in the rebuild where they can really use him?
You know, I look at Chip, and he definitely he made an impact here, but, he didn't fix Jakob Poeltl's shot. So, I'm always going to hold that against him. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, you know what? I'm sure he's definitely going to make an impact in Oklahoma City. I know a lot of folks are saying Oklahoma City, and you mentioned this earlier in the podcast, Jeff, are going to compete with the Spurs to tank. And even if you take out SGA and Chet, I still think with guys like Pokashevsky and Lou Dort and, some of the other role players they have there, I still think they're a better team than the Spurs. So, and especially now having Chip as the shot doctor, that alone is going to give them a couple more wins. So we'll see.
Absolutely. And just a couple more news bits we got to hit here. Josh Richardson, another forgotten Spur on the roster, recently told a funny story of Popovich's sense of humor. Did you know, Zach? Josh is a big gamer. He has a Twitch account, and you can watch him play FIFA and video games. If you're into that, Zach, I am. But anyway, during his broadcast, he told a story when he just became a Spur last season. He wasn't ready to play yet. And it was that infamous game where Popovich got tossed, ejected against the Pelicans. I think Becky took over as head coach, and Pop was exiting, and he gave a wink to the crowd, and everybody started laughing. But that sense of humor carried over to the locker room, where he and Keita Bates-Diop were laughing at Pop's wink, and Pop saw them, yelled at them, saying, "What are y'all laughing at? they got serious in a hurry, and then he winked at them. So there you go, another side of Popovich's sense of humor, courtesy of Josh Richardson. And if you're still here with us, don't forget, Locked On Spurs is doing another fan giveaway, this time courtesy of San Antonio radio personality Chuck Vans of the Chuck Vans Show. He is donating a free t-shirt and sticker combo set. This Friday, we're going to tell you how you can win that for free. Yes, free. Zach, you know that we've had several winners already. We had somebody win tickets to Mice Anticos, family 4-pack. We've had Bear County Social Apparel. They donated twice some shirts to fans. Bobby's Cafe. Zach, when are you going to win?
I don't know, Jeff. I'm already a winner just being on this show, man.
That's a way to save yourself. That's how you do it. I know. This is where I got to quit while I'm ahead, or we're ahead. And on that note, we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Zach, tell everybody one more time where they can follow you on social media.
Fourth N, as in the letter N for no. Fourth N 69. You'll see the picture of the football within a television set. So if you like sports, you like pop culture, you like to talk about good-looking women, I'm the page for you. If you don't like any of those things, don't follow me. But if you do, like one of them, or two of them, like Meatloaf said, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Give me a follow.
But you've been warned. Subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcast. Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes, YouTube. YouTube page is growing little by little, and we appreciate each and every subscription. And thanks again for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. We'll be back this week again, talk about training camp, get ready for the first preseason game against Houston, and much, much more. Now make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Josh Lloyd hosts the #1 daily fantasy basketball show on the planet. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. So for Zach Escamilla, or in this case, Zach, this time, Zach, you're what, Gavin? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's Gavin. Zach Gavin Murphy Escamilla. I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock in this episode of Locked On Spurs.